Hi, my name is Jim Gibson. Thank you for joining me today on this channel. Very much appreciated. And today I want to talk about certifications. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, if you don't know me, I've been in IT for over 40 years. Started in the Marine Corps, ran a couple companies. The most successful was Nova Voice and Data Systems. CableSupply.com is a spin-off of Nova Voice and Data Systems. That was our website, one of our websites, e-commerce site. But to make a long story short, I've hired a lot of people, a lot of technicians, well over 200. We installed systems all throughout the United States, all 50 states. And so I consider myself somewhat of an expert when it comes to IT training, what people need to know to be successful in IT, things like that. And today we're going to talk about certification. We're not going to talk about college. That's a total different subject. And I'm not going to talk about programming like applications for the iPhone, but we're going to talk about certifications. And you know, how does one start in this industry? What would I be looking for? What is a path, a career path in this industry? And this is a great industry. If you do it right, you can make some decent money. And let's say you're starting out in high school. Okay, that's where we're going to start. Let's say you're a high school senior and you want to get in this industry and you don't have a job as of yet. You know, how do you break into the industry? That's one. Secondly, you might be in the industry already and you're going to say, well, how do I advance in this industry? And so that's the other thing we're going to be talking about today. And the third thing is someone who says, I'm in the industry and I want to start my own business. So we're going to talk about all three of those. And you're going to have to figure out where you are on this pattern of certifications and training that fits best for you personally. So that if you're a high school student, if you're not a high school student, and let's say you're a 45-year-old guy that's been working in a gas station your whole life, you know, a 7-Eleven or something, and you decide you want to get in the IT field. Well, first of all, do you have an interest in computers, computer science, things like that? You know, do you take apart computers? I'm not talking about gaming, okay? That's a little bit different. I'm talking about the fact that you build your own computers. You know, it's kind of interesting. A person applied one time, and I always remember this one. And he was in his 40s, and people in their 40s, 50s, you know, or even older can get in the industry. But you have to have a love for it to start with, or some sort of interest in it. So I asked this guy, he was interviewing me, I was interviewing him, and I asked him, I said, you want to get in the industry, you're 45 years old, what have you done so far in you know, the 2.5 years you've been unemployed? This is during COVID. And he got all excited. He said, oh, you know, just to let you know, I do work under the table. I paint homes and everything else. I collect lots of money and I collect unemployment and everything else. Well, that just turned me off right there. But I said, no. In particular, you want to get into an IT field. Have you ever taken apart a computer? And he said, no. I was hoping you'd train me. Well, I didn't hire him. Because of his ethics, basically, and I wasn't going to train someone that had no interest in IT because he really didn't have any interest in IT. But let's say you decide you want a new career path. Now, that's a little different, you know. Do you have an interest in IT? That's the first thing. Why do you have an interest in IT? Ask yourself those questions. It may not be the field for you, but there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, IT, you know, I can make some decent money in information technology. I want to go there. Okay, that's fine. But just be honest with yourself if this is something you want to do. So let's start going through some of the certifications. So if you're a high school student and you say, man, IT's for me, so how do you get started in IT? Well, the first thing I would do is I would work on what's called CompTIA, C-O-M-T-I-A, A+. And it's really basic, but it's really good information. I mean, if you're not going into IT, it'd just be a good area for you to learn. But it's going to teach you basic computer technology. That's all it's going to teach you, okay? It's not going to teach you programming. It's just going to teach you components inside of a computer. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend money to get a cert in this area because, frankly, it's nice to see on a resume that you're interested in IT. But in reality, That certification I don't think is going to get you a job. Maybe it get you a help desk job, I don't know. But in my company, it wouldn't get you a job. It would just spark my interest that you actually have the discipline to learn something in IT, and you're showing you're interested in IT. See, that's the difference that the guy that showed up after being unemployed for 2.5, 3 years. He didn't do anything in those 2.5, 3 years. So it was a hard sell on his part to tell me that he was interested in IT. But that's where you start, CompTIA A+. So from there, there's a couple areas you can go into. You know, after you get that basically down, you can go Microsoft, you can go Cisco, you can do other things. But my thought is that if you wanted to work for my company, I would want you to know networking. And in fact, networking is basically the basis of everything. So if you're going to be a network engineer, you really have to know network. If you're going to run an IT company, you better know networking inside and out. And if you want to do more than just basic cabling, Ethernet cabling of a building, which is a totally different subject, but if you want to do more than just that, so if you're a cabler and you want to advance, the first thing you need to do is you need to take a course, in my opinion, CompTIA Network Plus. And the Plus system that you see in CompTIA is excellent. And that's going to teach you that Network Plus is going to teach you about basic networking. And some of it, last time I looked, it's been a couple of years, some of it's a little bit behind, but it's going to teach you about networks. And that is something you need to know. And that certification does have value. Not a lot, I'm going to be honest with you, not a lot, but it does have value. And so seeing that on a resume would definitely perk up my ears, even if you're going to come to me as a cabler. Knowing networking and getting certified in Network Plus is fantastic. That would really help you, even if you wanted to start out with cable. And you know something? This is great. If you're a cabler, learn Network Plus. If you have Network Plus, learn voice and data cabling. Actually, just learn data cabling at this point. After you get that, then once you understand basic stuff in networking, then go for your CCNA, Cisco Certified Network Administrator. Now, a lot of stuff when it comes to manufacturers, they're teaching about their equipment and how to program their equipment. Now, the nice thing about CCNA is that it teaches you advanced networking. It teaches you about routers and switches. It teaches you how to set them up. It teaches you how they work. It teaches you the different programming in the router software, things like that, and switch software. It teaches you a little bit, just a little bit, about cybersecurity. And so I think that's an excellent way to really break into the networking world. So if you're in high school and you get a CCNA, man, you are worth gold to me. When you get out of high school, you are absolutely worth a lot. Now, there is a guy who worked for me, is a fantastic employee. He came to me and he just passed his CCNA. And I remember interviewing him. And I don't know how old he was, but he looked like at the time he was 17, 18 years old, maybe 18. He looked like he was closer to 17. And he came and he showed me his certification. He said, I just passed my CCNA. I wonder if you would hire me. And I said, you know what I really need is CCNA voice. And I did that just because I didn't think I could employ him, to be honest with you, at his age. Come back when you get your CCNA voice. I would say within 6 weeks he was back. He laid the certificate in front of me. He says, now I am certified in CCNA voice. He's valuable to me. And he's valuable to me for two reasons. First of all, that he has the technology. He studied the technology enough to pass that exam. Not an easy exam, by the way, but he passed. And that was fantastic that he did that. And so that showed me one thing. Secondly, you know how many people I had working for me that would come to me and say, hey, Jim, I would like a raise. And I would say, okay, here is a self-study book. Take your test in CCNA, and when you get a CCNA, I'll give you a raise. And you know how many people took me up on that? Maybe one, and that was it. So I learned a lesson a long time ago that I need to hire people who are interested and actually demonstrated enough discipline and desire to be in the IT field that they would actually take and pass the exam. I'd even pay for the exam if you passed it. So very few people took me up on that. So CCNA, Cisco Certified Network Administrator, is a fantastic certification. It really gives you a ton of practical experience. You know, subnetting, things like that, things that you really need to know if you're in IT. Okay, a lot of people say, well, you know, I got subnetting, calculator, I don't need that. I got a ton of experience in IT. Well, you know something? A lot of people have a ton of experience in IT, okay? But prove it. Get your certification. And I'll tell you why that's important. Because if there's a problem, you're out in the customer location and you're trying to troubleshoot something, and then the customer sees you and turns around and says, I don't think this guy knows what he's talking about. I don't think he knows anything about my system. He should have had this programmed in a half hour and he's still screwing around trying to troubleshoot it. And then they call me as a business owner and they say, Jim, I'm not going to pay for this. This guy is not a professional. He doesn't know what he's doing. So, you know, send me a professional and do not charge me for this. Well, I can turn around and say, no, excuse me. He's factory certified. He's passed a very difficult exam called CCNA. That is, very few people have that. So if he's troubleshooting and can't find the problem, he does have support here at my business to help him. But on top of that, he knows what he's doing. And yes, I will be charging you. And usually that solves the problem with a customer. Don't have the certification, and you're just a good old guy that has kind of figured it out on your own, type of thing. Yeah, maybe you're really good at it. Well, if you're really good at it, get the darn certification and prove it, okay? And you want to move ahead, maybe get a job at a different company or something. Then you're going to have experience and the certification, and that's wonderful. Get the cert. Stop sitting there saying it's not worth anything. I hear so many technicians say that. Well, those certifications, well, I got the experience. Please, knock it off. If you got the experience, and go get the test and pass it. It's no big deal. What are you afraid of, okay? Afraid of failure? You know how many tests I've failed, and yet I went back and got the certification? That's life. You fail at things, and you try again. So anyway, I'm getting excited in this because I've had this conversation with a lot of employees who thought that they had this all locked down, but they were afraid to go get their certification. The next is, once you get the CCNA, I mean, you can just sit on that. That's fine. Learn more about Cisco. Learn more about that product. Learn more about some of the other products that are along the networking line. You can just stay right there. I wouldn't advise it, but you can just stay right there. Now, also, there's two other fields that I would say, if you want to move on from just CCNA, try these other two fields. How about cloud? Cloud, yeah, that's really the future. You know, Microsoft has determined that they no longer are going to support the different Microsoft certifications that were out for years, for decades. MCSA, MCSE, what is it? Microsoft Systems Engineer. Yes, MCSE. You know, people come in and say, I'm a Microsoft Systems Engineer, but they know nothing about networking. They just know about servers, which is great. You need them in a business. But the bottom line is Microsoft doesn't support that anymore. And the reason why is they want everyone to move to the cloud. And when we talk about the cloud, I don't know if you know, you ever see a product life cycle where things start out really low and then they go up and they go up and they go up and then they go back down. If you want to really be profitable, if you want to make money at anything, profit-wise, if you want to, as an employee, get ahead and make more money than other people, you got to catch the curve when it's on the way up, not when it's on the way down. So the curve, the product life cycle curve is very important. And right now, the product life cycle curve for people who are Microsoft Systems engineers is kind of like on this level, going down. You want to be on the cloud side, which is going up. It's still going up. People are going to move to the cloud. Fortune 500 companies, all of them are there. It's great for mom and pop. So we can talk about the cloud some other day, and I'm sure I'll get a ton of hate mail on this, but cloud is the future. So it's either going to be AWS or Azure or one of the others, but learn the cloud. Get your certification in the cloud. That's all online, man. You don't have to buy a piece of equipment used equipment to learn how to program a switch or things like that. You can do everything online, and you can do it with a book. I'm always reading. And that's another thing. If you want to be a business owner, you better know this stuff too, and you better have your certifications. Don't sit there and give out advice for other people to get certifications, and you kind of sit back and drink your coffee and stare out the window. Get your certifications. If you're preaching it, then live it. So, and you better be just as good, if not ahead of all your employees. You better learn about the cloud before you're asking them to learn about the cloud. By the way, this is not simple stuff. But it's also at the same time fun. Just to show you my training, how I do it. When I do these certifications, I go through the book and I highlight things and everything else, and I read it really quick. Go through the whole book. Then I do some video on it. There's a lot of free videos out there, by the way, you can get on YouTube. And you just do it. Stop wasting your time sitting around just watching TV and different things at night. It's boring. It's never going to get you anywhere. You got to get certified. But one of the things I do is I do my 3x5 cards. And so every day I go through my 3x5 cards. And in fact, I'm already a CISSP. And so I also do cards, or review my cards, even though I got the certification. So I still keep them with me. I'm there at the doctor's office waiting for him. They get upset if you're not there on time, but then they let you sit there for a half hour, at the doctor's, the dentist, whatever, some sort of boring event, everything else. I always keep something like this in my pocket so I can go through my flashcards. I make my own flashcards because that helps me remember what I need to do. So everything I'm telling you today is from experience. So this is my flashcards that I keep with me all the time. And I'm still going through AWS certification. I must have read that book about 5 times already. But to make a long story short, learn AWS. It's the biggest one out there. Azure is fantastic and has a lot of support out there for it, everything else. Now I'm still in the cloud thing. So if you're interested in the cloud, AWS, Azure, and by the way, AWS has like 5 or 6, 10 certifications, and I should have counted them before I started this video, but there's a lot of things you can do there. It pays well. Remember, it's on the upside of the product curve, so you always want to be on the upside of the product curve. Once you hit the top, start going down, go find another product, go find another area. Once you're there, then I would recommend you learn Linux systems and network or servers and stuff like that, just because it fits well when it comes to AWS, when it comes to, well, maybe not Azure, because Azure is going to push Microsoft products. So that's what's one field. Now from there, if you want to really move on there, you go with Certified Cloud Security Professional. Now, Certified Cloud Security Professional is part of an organization called ISC Squared. And if you want to go to their website, it's isc2.org. And it's a great organization and everything else. I would not recommend people learning cybersecurity before you know networking. You got to know networking first before you do cybersecurity. But in this case, cybersecurity, CCSP, Certified Cloud Security Professional. And that will help you in the cloud if you want to make the cloud your future. And that the cloud is the future. At least I see it for the next 20 years, if not more. The next is, how about just security overall? I am also not only a CCSP, I'm also CISSP, Certified Information Systems Security Professional. And that is also part of the ISC Square organization. And that is the leader. I don't care what you say in any other field. ISC Squared, which is, again, the website isc2.org, is the leader when it comes to cybersecurity. And it is a very difficult certification to get. When I took the certification, it was a 6-hour exam with no break. You got no break. You were there for 6 hours, and you need to take that test. And it was a very expensive test. At that point, I think it was well over $600. And so I determined I was not going to spend another $600. I was going to make sure I passed that test the first time, and I did. So when it comes to security, and that's a field all into itself. Again, you're still going to need that Network Plus. You're still going to need that CCNA. It's still going to help you. It'd be great if you knew cabling, but at this point, cabling's not that important when it comes to cybersecurity. So my first certification in cybersecurity needs to be Security Plus. That's going to give you the big background in cybersecurity. And then after that, go for your CISSP. So if you're in the cloud, cybersecurity is going to be CCSP. If you're overall just cybersecurity in all the other areas, including the cloud, you're going to have CISSP. I know a lot of acronyms there, but you can look them up on the internet. Look at ISC Square. ISC2.org will really get you through that. So there are career paths that you can take. I'm not talking about web design. I'm not talking about software development. I'm not talking about any other area except networking. How to network, how to be of value to a company. Remember, you may not think profits are important, but profits are what pay your salary. And the more valuable you are, the more your company can benefit from your certifications, can at the same time possibly even charge more for you. And it's not evil that certifications are very necessary in the IT field. And so realize that for the rest of your life, if you're going to be in IT, you really need to be doing study, self-study, certifications, things like that. Even now that I've had my CISSP for 5-6 years plus, I'm still taking courses in cybersecurity. I'm still learning. I'm still working on the latest one I'm working on is open source Intel. I think it's like really fascinating. So you're always going to be learning something new. You can't sit on knowledge, because knowledge changes and develops, especially in this field. Again, this is Jim Gibson. Thank you for watching my video. Very much appreciate it. If this has been of benefit to you, give me a thumbs up and also subscribe. If it's not, then don't give me a thumbs up and subscribe. But please, if you've learned something today, I would really appreciate if you would subscribe. Again, have a wonderful day, and text me if you have any questions.